what they call enforcement checks on us to make sure that our books are squared away and that we are doing the right thing. And that's that's a welcome sight, because what it does is it's kind of like, as you know, every law out there is based on the less than the 1%ers out there that caused the problem to create the law.
That sort of chaps me too. I don't really like reactionary legislation. It's something that I dealt with over in Nashville over and over for the 12 years that I was there. A bad thing happens and somebody wants to pass a law. Well, it's, once you give up those liberties, you can never get them back. So I would stray hard to not to do that. Warren, some of the things that the government's talking about now, even President Trump and everybody else, is the background checks. Well, tell us a little bit about the background check, how that works, and if you think there's some soft spots in that could be strengthened somewhat, in your opinion, on that part.
The actual form's called a 4473, and it takes typically about 5 minutes for the customer to fill out. It's going to ask them if they're a felon, convicted felon, domestic violence violator, misdemeanor, which will disqualify you, unlawfully discharged, all these other questions. If you've ever renounced your citizenship, a lot of them we don't have if you've ever been mentally adjudicated by a court of law, all these things are on the form.
Do people fill those things out sometimes?
They fill that form out every time they buy a firearm.
Did they say I'm mentally unstable or I have a felony? You ever have anybody do that before?
Here's the deal. In 10 years, we've done at least 25,000 background checks. I've had somebody check one of the yes boxes 2 times. And one time he claimed it was a mistake, and the other time the person was just being honest. And it was an older person. I said, we stop the process right now when you check that yes. And then I explained to him why, and he understood. He was just being honest. And so what's ironic is, on the background check system itself, the state of Tennessee has about a 3.5% denial rate on applications, meaning every time we fill out that form, 3.5% of them get kicked back. And then at that point, to make sure that there's no mistake for the customer on being denied, we fill out what's called an appeal of denial form. And we'll fill that form out for the customer. We'll fax that into Nashville for them. They review it and take it one step deeper just to get a confirmation that this person is denied. They have 2 weeks to respond. They send us back either, yes, this is in denial, this is denied, no transaction, or it is an overturn. And that runs about 60% remaining denial. So when we break it down, we're only looking at around 2% of the people that come in. Of course, criminals with backgrounds don't come in to fill out background checks.
Right. We're in a live discussion today with Warren Duncan, and he's an expert on guns and gun laws, and we want you to join in the conversation if you'd like to. 614-5553. 614-5553. You can call in and ask a question or make a comment. We'd love to have you on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom here on Whoop Radio. That's right,
99.9.
Yes, sir. And you can also live stream with us at www.whoopfm.com. www.whoopfm.com. We're so happy to have you with us today, Warren, and very insightful so far. This is going to be a great show. I'm learning a lot as we sit here right now.
Yeah. We'll go back to, is there anything they can do with the government's talking about that you know about what they're going to change the background checks? What can they do to strengthen those things?
Well, to get back to the background checks for just a second, it literally took the media 5 years to figure out that we do background checks at gun shows. The 5 years prior to that, we finally got over the hurdle to let all U.S. senators and U.S. representatives, our lawmakers, know that magazines that go into weapons are not one and done. When they hit the ground, some of them used to think that when they ran out that these things were disposable, and they came preloaded with it. And these were the people that were making decisions on the laws that we live by. And you think about that with every industry. They're making laws within every industry, and they cannot be just that completely naive about mine. I think, so that's where we really have to have the public input to push back, to help inform, to explain what's going on. When it comes to new legislation, the tricky part there is we've had, with federal, state, and local laws. We have 10,000 gun laws in the United States. Most of them overlap one another. We get that. But what we have is we have people that don't abide by the law. We have those 1%ers, and this is really the 10th of 1%ers, and even less than that violate these laws. And so more laws are not going to be this is a gun-free zone. Well, doggone it, I can't take this in and cross this sign because I'm going to break the law. Well, guess what? I'm getting ready to commit murder, so that the sign outside with the no firearms welcome, whether it's here at a restaurant or anywhere else, is not going to stop anybody. So now we have these violent crimes take place. Now, once they take place, we have 10,000 laws to keep that from happening in the first place, and then we have all these laws that are built in to prosecute these people after they do it. Well, we look at what took place in Parkland, and we had all these tips that everybody wants to get so hard on the FBI and the local law enforcement. We had a lot of things in place to keep this from happening, and this was a wake-up call for the law enforcement community that we really, really need to be diligent prior to the fact, just like we were with the Homeland Security being created after 9/11. This, I think, it should be more of a wake-up call for law enforcement at absolutely every level, that we have to really devote ourselves to stop this before it happens when we have these type of signs coming out. No more law is going to help until we can actually enforce the laws that we already have.
I see a lot of common sense in that. Of course, emotion takes over. Emotion after an event like Parkland, it's easy, and then the media whips up the emotion, of course, because there's a lot of folks in the media that wish to make a statement or take away or whittle away at our amendment rights or whatever. And they're able to whip up the emotion because it's a very emotional topic.
Absolutely.
School safety, I mean, you take your child to school, you're expecting that they learn a lot and come home safely.
Yeah, and sleep in their bed at night.
That's exactly
And
right.
when they don't come home and sleep in that bed, it's a tragedy to think that a child.
Some of the things that I think about is that emotion, if we can turn that in to positives that really need to start at a grassroots level in a community. And that doesn't mean more laws. That means more programs that can be put in place. An example of that would be like right here in Bradley County, the sheriff's office runs a special deputy program to arm members of congregations. And if you come into Bradley County and you come to here and you go to church here, people would freak out if they knew how many firearms were already in the church for protection. And these are trained persons that volunteered for this type of service. And what we don't see is this is not a gun-free zone anymore. Now, if you skip 20 years and you go, that's unfortunate that now we've got to have guns in churches, yes, it is absolutely unfortunate. But at the same time, it's reality. Because I grew up in Emporia, Kansas. I'm 48 years old. When I was 9 years old, there was a Korean Christian church in Emporia, Kansas that got shot up in the early 1980s. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
Okay? And so people are having that emotion towards guns in school as opposed to it being a gun-free zone. And with that emotion, that throws the Sister Mary Margaret carrying the Uzi type of cartoon in your certain publications. And that's not what it is. What it is it's a volunteer resistance force that can be put in place inside the schools. And in some states that already takes place. And as the numbers will show, the more that this takes place, the more this violence is going to get reduced, just like it has in any other aspect where if guns are available and guns are there to stop other guns, the crime is going to go to a softer target, unfortunately.
And you hear a lot of the opponents or the anti-Second Amendment rights advocates laugh and scoff at the idea of having more guns in churches or more guns in the schools. But it's just a known fact that if the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator, comes in and doesn't know where guns are, they're going to be a little bit more cautious. They're going to be a little they're going to plan it better. They're not going to go in there when they think that they can just be taken out right at the first. So I think it's a great idea to at least open up the laws to where teachers and people can be armed. They can choose whether they want to or not, but the person that's coming in there to harm our children is not going to know which ones are which.
Yeah, well, also, it was on the news I saw over this weekend that up in Ohio, Butler County, Sheriff Jones, he had over 300 teachers apply to carry permits in school, and he's going to limit it to 300. So apparently they're doing some things, being proactive in their schools to let teachers carry armed, guns, but at the same time, I think it's important, too, that those people are trained on that part. And as far as training and getting permits, do you think 4 hours is enough time to really train somebody to use a firearm? And I've talked to military people, and their view is they need a lot more time on that part.
That's right, Tom. I was in the Army and spent a fair amount of time in there. And what you'll see in is the like the special deputy program that Bradley County provided to arm their citizens inside the churches was a 40-hour course. 40 hours is a lot of instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the course that it's ironic that Delta and United want to pick on the NRA, and it's really, really popular right now to say we're going to disengage our relationship with the NRA. But it's pretty ironic that United and Delta both have a program where their flight attendants and different personnel that are on the airplane go through 40 hours worth of training in order to conceal carry. And their pilots all can conceal carry. And then they're also provided with U.S. Marshal Service in plain clothes that are concealed carry. All these are already in place. So you do as I say, but don't do as I do.
Chaps me. That's another sore spot with me.
Well, let's we take a break for music here, Jeff, and we'll come back and maybe we'll talk a little bit. We'll talk more about schools and NRA and age as some of the big topics out there.
We're with Warren Duncan today, so call in at 614-5553. Join the conversation with the Morning Jive.
All right, we're going to have a tribute to the Eagles today. Here we go.
Love the Eagles.
One of these nights.
Good morning. It's the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. You were just listening to the Eagles one of these nights. Tom, we've had some great basketball.
Yeah, let's update the sports video this morning. Let's do it now. I think I'm hoping Play will call in.
He's not going to call in today. He texted me and said that he's going to try to pick it up again next week.
All right, well, let's do this. All right, on sports, we had some high school basketball coming in over the weekend. The Bearettes coasted past Warren County, 87-22, behind another dominant performance with Miss Tennessee basketball finalist Ryan Howard. Now, this girl is really putting it on right now. I'm telling you what, she is really impressive. And
she's
from my understanding,
on the point
she could do
leader
this
for Bradley County.
Yeah, she could do this every game, but she didn't do this until up when the McDonald's didn't. She didn't get in a McDonald's tournament, National McDonald's tournament. After that, she has just proven herself. 32 points, 14 out of 17 shooting, 6 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, while only playing 22 minutes. She's going to get some playing time at Kentucky, I'm telling you. She will get some court time when she's up there.
I sort of wish she was going to wear orange.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. In the Region 3 Triple A tournament, I have to say the Blue Raiders and also the Mustangs both fell out of that. The opener, Blue Raiders, 5th ranked in the state. The Cleveland fell short expectations at the end of the game. The district 4th ranked Cookeville beat them. Cookeville, and this was a tight game too, 70-68. Was a surprise victory at Raider Arena. So, Blue Raiders, you had a great season this year. We're proud of you. And
congratulations to you.
You did a really good job. So, and also Saturday against Warren County on Triple 3A, do or die quarterfinal. The Mustangs were unable to beat and push further, losing to the Pioneers. Final 52-48. Tonight, we got some basketball tonight. If you want to see this tonight we got the Region 3 AAA Tournament Girls semifinals at Ray County now. You got Ray County. Bradley Central Bearettes against Ray County. They're at 6. East Hamilton and Stone Memorial at 7:30. Now, the final championship game at Ray County will be, whoever wins those games will be at 7 o'clock on Wednesday at Ray County. And also, Jeff, we got some good news for UT basketball for Mr. Play there. Number 19 Tennessee earned a 73-65 win over Mississippi on Saturday. And get this, number 15 Tennessee outlasts number 7 South Carolina 65-46. They beat South Carolina. The UT girls did. So
awesome.
Yeah, so maybe they're coming up right now. This is time the tournament's coming up, so things are coming up. So I'm excited about the basketball right now.
Well, and Miss Howard for the Bradley Bears, or Bearettes, she's on track to be the all-time scoring leader for the school.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen, most likely. I think she might even do it tonight.
We'll
I think it was 34 points or so that she needed to surpass Brittany Jackson and Jody Adams and all the other 5-on-5 players. Now, I think there's a higher score in the 3 when they used to play 6-on-6.
Yeah, 3 and 3.
Data Caldwell, I think she was like the leading scorer back then. But for 5-on-5, Ms. Howard's going to be up in the upper elite echelon of the Bradley Central High School.
Talking about practicing and that, you remember we used to get out there on the floor with Coach Smitty, you, me, and Mark Guy?
Absolutely.
And
we called ourselves the Gym Rats.
The Gym Rats. Football. He got out there and let us play against him, but he don't let us play defense all the time. We never could play offense.
Well, we got to shoot every now and then.
Well, yeah, when we got a rebound, that was it. That squeaky voice of Coach Smitty, Tommy.
That's why our girls were so good, is because we practiced with them, Tom.
Yeah. Well,
those girls they had sharp elbows.
They did. They pushed around. They they deny you.
Susan Rollins.
Yeah. Ormby. Janet.
Yeah.
It's Janet Ormby. I can't remember who else was on there.
Oh, there were a bunch of them.
Yeah. We got a caller here.
Looky here. How about that? Let's see. Good morning, caller. You're on Whoop FM 99.9 Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
We're doing good, Coach.
Hey, I hear Tom in there bragging about his basketball skills, and if they were as good as he was in our shootout, he was in trouble doing?
Yeah, they, it was a good game, I'm sure, and I didn't go see it, but what the score was, Coach, they got nothing to be ashamed of on that part.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I hated to see that. It seems like that's happened the last couple of years, and they, I don't know what it is, but anyway, yeah, they've had a great year, and anyway, I hope you guys are doing well.
We're doing great, Coach.
We are. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I'm over here getting ready to go in and hear about all the lies that happened over the weekend.
Oh.
Table.
The Liars Table, huh? Tell them guys I said hello over there
Oh,
on that part. What you think about gun control? What's your thought?
well,
What's your thought in schools about teachers carrying guns?
well, I'm not up. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really up for teachers doing it, but you know, it just bothers me when we don't follow up on warnings and opportunities that are given to us to protect these kids and teachers and schools and stuff like that. Anyway, it's one of those things that people would do what they're supposed to do, and they would handle things legally the way they're supposed to do. We could solve a lot of these problems, but until the powers that be and the people who just allow so much of this happening come through and start standing up, I don't know if it's ever going to improve. I hope so.
Yeah, we need to do something to make our schools safer.
I agree with the president on the raising the age. I don't see why that should even be a question. And the bump stocks, I don't see why that should be a problem. There's just so many of those things that are so simple, and you can't. To me, you can't justify.
Well, I think the gun age is something that's kind of been put on the back burner, Coach. If I need to get my 19-year-old daughter to call you, if you're going to, you know, she's 19 and she can't buy a gun, she is very upset about that. And she did call in the other day and express her concerns of that, because if she had an apartment or a place that she's by herself and you're telling her she can't go buy a gun to arm herself, to protect herself, she was very upset.
You didn't hear me now.
Okay.
I said 21 to buy an AR-15.
Okay.
Really good.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Recreation guns in.
Yeah. I just, yeah, I'm all for. I got a carry permit. I have a gun, and my wife does, and everything. And but I do think that AR-15s are not something that kids under 21 need to have in their arsenal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hope I don't get too many people upset. But
And Coach Shriver's number is
I'm just teasing. BR 549.
Coach, you shouldn't. Don't ever apologize for having an opinion. That's good.
yeah. And that's what we're all about here on the Morning Jive.
hey, who am I talking to in there? Who did I just...
This is Warren Duncan. Warren Duncan is our in-studio guest today.
Well, Warren, you do a good job. Now, I realize what you're dealing with there with us, too, so I'll be thinking about and praying for you this morning.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
Warren Duncan is with Cleveland Shooting Sports and is an expert on guns, gunsmithing.
I'm aware of them, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard all of him, but I'm not sure what his part is. But again, I'm a Second Amendment guy, but I just think that there are certain things that you have to adjust, especially in today's society. It's not like it used to be back in the day when you had the old deer rifle in the gun rack at the back of your truck and you pulled into school every morning and you showed it off to your principal.
Yeah.
That was
Or
just,
coaches won. Yeah, you go bird hunt with your coaches. I mean, yeah.
That's right.
that just seems like yesterday, Tom, when we were in high school and saw the gun rack and the rifles and all the guns right there in the back of the window of the trucks.
Okay.
Right there outside of the Smitty Arena.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you calling in. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Coach. Bye-bye. Hope you'll call back. Yeah, he brought up a lot of topics there.
Yeah.
To take us on up through the.
Well, I missed
top
that.
hour.
I missed that assault rifle. I don't know. What's your thought on assault rifles?
Well, he also mentioned bump fire stocks, and it's there's a lot of correlation with the bump fire stocks and the fully automatic stuff. And the bump fire stocks have been around for about 8 years, and until Las Vegas, this has been used in a crime one time. And so you're talking, let's make a law based on the
One
less than
time.
Yeah.
One time.
We'll make
and how
a law
many
on the-
people own them and legally and have never had a problem with
yeah,
them?
there's millions of them out there, and I don't have any problem with outlawing them. And the reason why is, if you came into my store 7 or 8 years ago when people were asking when those things first came out, and there's a lot of other triggers. There's one called a bump ski, a bump stock. There's a reflex triggers. There's a lot of products that do that, and I chose, really since day one, those type of borderline products like that, I'm not going to sell in my store, and because I don't need to answer for that later. And even to this day, there's a lot of money to be made in them. You've never seen one on my shelf in my store. Armor, bulletproof vests, that kind of stuff. People ask for that. There's a market for that, but I am not going to enable somebody to put on their vest and put on their bump stock and do, because these don't apply to what I think the Second Amendment is. They don't apply to what the philosophy of the safety of my store is, and so those have never been on my shelves. I'm not saying it's a person shouldn't have had one or bought one, but they just weren't going to get it from me. So they're going to outlaw the bump stock, and I'm okay with that. But where they screw up time after time again when they make these laws is they do it based on emotion, and they don't get the wording right. And as you know, as a lawyer, everything's the devil's in the details. And if they would simply put, we're going to outlaw any device that accelerates the speed of fire on a semi-automatic rifle, it's going to be against the law. Okay? So they'll
come out with another device. If you outlaw the bump stock and call it bump stock,
Right.
They'll come out with another device in just a few weeks.
right, and that's why I said we got to just use a word. If we can, anything that can accelerate the rate of fire past what a human body can do, then it's against the law. Well, and now you've got 1 million of them out there available, and if you don't make those against the law to possess, you don't turn them into contraband, that problem will not go away for 25 years. Okay? They're going to be out there. There is way too many out there for a person wanting them to be able to get them. And so they won't make them contraband. They'll draw the line on that line somewhere. And then raising the age to 21 is that's a real sore spot there.
Well, you see where Florida, Florida Governor Rick Scott and Republican legislators announced the safety restrictions, the proposal of ban of firearms, anyone up to 21.
That's right.
That Florida is out there. They're pushing that, Jeff. I mean, that's just
Parkland was the only shooting that happened with someone below the age of 21. All the others were over 21 years of age.
Right. Las Vegas was the only time for the bump stock and that kind of thing. There's a first time for everything, and it's the one person, the 1%, the 10th, however you want to call it. It's like any other law we were talking about earlier. But really, what I think, what really needs to be argued on the Second Amendment pro-gun side for the 21 law is you're going to have to give up something is the way it's looking. And you might as well come in and say 21 years old to buy a semi-automatic rifle, any semi-automatic rifle, whether that's a Ruger 1022 or whether that's an AR-15. You can still buy a long gun, you can still buy a shotgun, you can still buy a pump, you can still buy
a pistol.
Well, you got to be 21 to buy a pistol anyway.
Okay.
And so
I wasn't aware of that.
So, yeah. So if because the best firearm for home defense is a shotgun, and we can get into a whole spiel why that's the case. But if I have a 19-year-old daughter that's living in an apartment by herself, I want her to have that shotgun by her bedside, and telling her that she cannot protect herself because she's not 21. That part's not right. Now, is she going to have an AR-15 laying up against the bed? No, and nobody does. And the sales to the long gun sales, which is the only thing an 18, 19, or 20-year-old person can buy, is less than 1% of my business already. They don't have the money to come in and buy guns. There's a few of them. There's a lot of 21st birthdays that come in and mom or dad buy the handgun because the kid's taking the carry class and they need something for that apartment. They've been unarmed to this point. So telling an 18-year-old that they cannot buy a long gun because everybody says they're lumping them together. They're saying let's not let an 18-year-old buy an AR-15. I'll give that up. I will. I'll give that one up. But you're not going to tell me that we've got to give up long guns.
Well, there's a misnomer out there that AR stands for assault rifle. What? Does AR-15, does that stand for assault rifle 15?
No.
What does that stand for?
That's a good question.
But it's
Jeff.
not. I mean, everybody wants to say AR-15. That's an assault rifle. Nobody needs an assault rifle.
Right. I can assault you with a single-shot 12-gauge shotgun.
Exactly. That pattern is going to be pretty widespread on that part. And you're an ex-military person.
That's right.
And I've got a brother-in-law the same way. We had a long discussion about this last night. Actually, Denise's heart rate sitting there got up to 120. And her wife started going off. And she's like, what are you doing? And my heart rate's going up because we were getting tensed. You can modify those M16. People know how to modify to make it automatic. Am I correct on that part?
Sure, you can take a semi-automatic
and make it
AR-15
automatic.
and you can make an automatic. But, there's who does that? It's the guy that lives out in a rural area. He's got 30 acres. And he's kind of ornery already. Is he going to bring it to town? No. Any gun can be modified to make it full auto. Okay, whether it's a Benelli shotgun or whether it's an AR-15.
And get back to the age. The military, you can sign up when you're 18 years old, and they'll issue an automatic weapon.
Sure, you get the proper training to do that.
To do that, so what's the difference between 18 and 21? I mean, if you're in the military, why the difference? Should you not go in until you're 21 then?
No, I see that because I was at the age of when they were raising the drinking limit from 18 to 21, 25 years, 30 years ago. And it was the same kind of little scuttlebutt. It's a personal thing if you fall within that age group. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, somebody comes in and they want. I'll tell you what. We had a lot of people over the last 7 or 8 years that didn't know anything about guns, but they wanted to buy an AR-15 because they heard how much fun they were recreationally, and they got into the sport through that way. When somebody comes in, wants to buy an AR-15. And we say, what are you buying it for? Oh, I need it for home defense. This is absolutely the last gun you want for home defense. It has the power to go through walls, kill loved ones.
Yeah, you're going to mess up the house.
Everything about it is bad. You're going to miss your target. That's why we always fall back to the shotgun. It's less lethal when it goes through 2 layers of sheetrock with number 6 shot in it. We're not going to accidentally kill a loved one in the next bedroom over. It's got a spray pattern like you were mentioning with the shotgun earlier, Tom, to where you might actually hit the bad guy that's knocking in your front door. So I don't care. I would give up letting them raise the age to 21 for a semi-automatic rifle. Because what
are the practical purposes of a semi-automatic rifle? What are they used for typically? Why are they purchased? What makes them attractive to people?
Well, a lot of people, a lot of us grew up shooting 22s, and we were plinking, and we were shooting pop cans and whatever else, and we were shooting our targets. And then we finally got away from that bolt action 22, and we started shooting a semi-automatic 22, and we were plinking, and now the fun factor goes way up. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same type of experience, but now we don't have to worry about the $3 box of 22. We can afford to shoot something a little nicer with a little bit more accuracy. Now we're doing our plinking at our property or at the range, and we're doing it at farther distances. And now all of a sudden it's becoming more of a sporting type thing. And I've got retired 75-year-old white-collar ladies that love shooting their AR because there's no recoil to it. They see their effectiveness, and they're tuning their skills. They're putting good optics on it, and they're shooting things at longer distances and absolutely, pardon the pun, having a blast doing it. Nobody comes in that buys the ARs from us have ill intentions with it. We go ahead, Tom.
I've got one more question.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you, what processes are in place? What do I have to go through? I come into the store. I want to buy an AR-15. What are the processes that are in place for me to get that? What are the waiting periods and all of that sort of thing currently, so that we can compare that to what they're trying to do to us in increasing
Sure.
those times?
That varies state by state, but within Tennessee, it's cash and carry. You'll come in, you'll fill out the form, the background check is done with TBI. The whole process takes about 10, 15 minutes. We get our approval code back that says yes. It checks two things: make sure that if you're buying a used gun, that gun is not stolen, and then it's checking to make sure that the purchaser of the firearm can pass a background check. So the form gets filled out, the product gets paid for, and then the person walks out the door with it.
Same process for an automatic weapon?
Automatics are completely different. Automatics have not been manufactured since May of 1986. Okay, that was the last time an automatic weapon, meaning when you hold the trigger, it keeps shooting until you let up the trigger. A semi-automatic, you pull the trigger every time to make it go boom. So on the full automatic, it was in 1986 was when it went into effect, the law, during the Ronald Reagan era, and at that point, it said no more automatics going into the public hands. Okay, that was no more being manufactured. The difference is there was 230-some thousand registered machine guns, because even since 1934, when the Machine Gun Act went into effect, 1934, these things have been registered with the government, every last one of them. Every one of them is accounted for. That is something that the ATF can come to your house and check by appointment to make sure that you have it properly secured. Since 1934, when that law went into effect, all the way up through 1986, these 200-some thousand machine guns were put into the public's hands. Not a single one has ever been used in a violent crime, ever. So, since 1986, now we're looking at over 30 years here. The pool has shrunk on these 230-some thousand. Some have got stolen, some have been floods, fires. Well, the demand is skyrocketed because these are collector's items, and the supply has dwindled. So the price in capitalism, when one goes down, the other goes up, has skyrocketed. So now we've got, if you want to come in, like right now, I've got an AR-15. It's an M16, so it's fully automatic, and it's $20,000. Okay? And it's going to take about 9 months to get through the paperwork process, which includes passport photos, fingerprints, and then that goes in and gets in under a lot of scrutiny, and then in about 9 months, your approval comes back.
Wow.
Well, you spoke of Reagan. Let's. I've got a Reagan remark here back in the NRA back in 1983 in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's play him real quick and come back and talk about the NRA.
You pointed out that police would be so busy arresting handgun owners that they would be unable to protect the people against criminals. It's a nasty truth, but those who seek to inflict harm are not fazed by gun control laws. I happen to know this from personal experience. You know, I've always felt a special bond with the members of your group. You live by Lincoln's words. Important principles may and must be inflexible. Your philosophy put its trust in people. So you insist on individuals be held responsible for their actions. The NRA believes that America's laws were made to be obeyed and that our constitutional liberties are just as important today as 200 years ago. And by the way, the Constitution does not say that government shall decree the right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
There we go. Mr. Reagan himself.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it gives me chills just to hear that. Well, we're here sitting today with Warren Duncan from Cleveland Shooting Sports, and we're discussing gun control, gun safety, and gun purchasing laws and that sort of thing. So if you'd like to join in the conversation, please call us at 614-5553. That's 614-5553. And we have a caller on the line. You're listening to The Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. Good morning, caller.
Hey, yes, I'm really enjoying the program this morning. I think it's great, and gentleman has all kinds of information. One thing I'd like to know, if a person has bought a gun from an individual, could they bring it to his place and he could check and see if it's stolen or not?
That's a good question, and yes, you can. Here's the deal. The private party transfers, that's the one thing that that's one of the risks that you run, is whether or not you're buying something that can pass a background check. And people will come in and ask us if we will run a gun. We have to have the gun in front of us, and here's why. If that gun has a hit on it, they're going to dispatch TBI is going to dispatch Cleveland PD or the sheriff's office. They're going to come down and pick the gun up. Nobody's going to go to jail today. They're going to ask where you got it. That's where it's going to end. But if you want it checked, we'll be happy to check. But if there is a hit on it, it's going to get confiscated.
How much does that cost?
I think it's $10.
Okay, well, I'm an 80-year-old man, and I bought guns for years. And if I had one that's stolen, I wouldn't even remember where I got it.
That's right, and that's all you tell them.
Okay. I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate your call.
Wonderful, and I appreciate it so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate that call. Good,
Warren, you
good
had
question.
another example of up in Chicago. You were talking about a man in a wheelchair or something like that. You want to talk about that story again?
Yeah, that's a big case that when you guys wanted to talk about the NRA a little bit, that big evil group, but they supported a 65-year-old disabled man in a wheelchair that's been broken into several times. And this is a pretty famous case, and it's gone on for several years because he couldn't own a handgun in Chicago, and he was an invalid and he could not operate a long gun, and so he was unable to use a shotgun or even an AR or any type of long gun, and he wanted a handgun to protect himself because he's been broken into, been beat up, and all these other things, and the kids were wearing him out, and it was against the law for him to have a handgun. And the NRA took up the fight for him because this guy has the right to protect himself, just like that 19-year-old daughter does. You got a question, Jeff?
We have a caller on the line, and I just wanted to get them on. You're on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom.
Yes, it's this old man calling back. He should write his questions down.
Come on back.
I had a couple of guns, one I bought privately and one I had registered to me. And I've had people working in my house. I'm either got them hid somewhere and can't find them, or somebody's picked them up. Can I come in and bring a serial number that I've got and have that checked to see if it's on the market someplace else?
You cannot, because if it does have a hit on it, if it does have a problem with it within their system, they're going to want to pick the gun up at that time. The best thing you can do in that situation, if you need to determine whether or not you can find the weapon in your house or not, and if you've determined that you cannot find it and that you think it is gone, we can help you get that serial number registered with the National Tracing Center, so it's in the system. In case it ever does pop back up, it'll show that you've lost this gun, and there's a very small chance that it can get back to you. Now, let's say you do that, we put it in the National Tracing Center, 6 months later, you turn over that deal in your closet and you find the gun. No problem. We go back in, we call back the National Tracing Center and say, we've located that gun, can you take it off your registry?
Okay, how much that cost to do that?
We'll take care of that for you. That's not a problem.
Well, when I missed my gun, I talked to the chief of police and told him, but the reason I didn't report it stolen is because I didn't want my name and address put in the paper, or something. You
That's
can
right.
understand that, too.
Sure, and something that people don't realize is the background check does not register the firearm. There's no such thing. It's against the law for the state of Tennessee to maintain any records on firearms purchases. They hold those. They hold the information off of your form for 72 hours, and then that's by law dumped out of their system.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I bought one of these that was registered at an auction, okay, and I bought the other from an individual. Hey, I'll get off here so you can tell us some more great things, okay?
Thank you, caller. Appreciate you calling in today. You're on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. We have Warren Duncan with us today from Cleveland Shooting Sports. And Warren, you were right in the middle of a story. I'm sorry about that, but we won't like to get our callers in.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it turned into a political story with the man in Chicago because the U.S. Court of Appeals, it went to that, and then it went into the Illinois Supreme Court, and they still said that this man has the right to have a handgun to protect himself under the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, Chicago turned their nose to the decision made by the Supreme Court, so then the NRA had to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's where it's at now. So it's a shame that at every court level, going up through the different levels, that they all abided by law that this man had the right to protect himself, and then they still said the city still told the man no. And unfortunately, this is the most violent city in the country.
Yeah, he's probably the only person in Chicago that doesn't have a gun now.
Right? You know what's really frustrating is we talk about well, let's raise it to 21. Let's change these laws, and then you've got undocumented workers. You have illegal aliens that commit violent crime or any crime with a firearm. Well, guess what? They can't buy a gun legally. It's against the law for them, L-A-W. It's against the law for them guys to possess and to purchase. They can't come into my store and buy a gun as an illegal alien. Not in this state. Some states, believe it or not, they can through some loopholes. It's unbelievable. Did you know that you can come in and buy a gun in the state of Tennessee if you're here on a student visa?
Did not know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
If you're on a work visa, if you're a permanent resident, you don't have to be an American citizen to enjoy the rights of this country. It's amazing.
You're on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. We've got an in-studio guest, Warren Duncan from Cleveland Shooting Sports, and time is almost out. But you could call in one last question, 614-5553, 614-5553. You can live stream with us at whoopfm.com. Tom.
Yeah, let's, Warren, let's tell you where your store's at again, where how they can contact you, they can get a permit, or what. It's your time right now to let the people know, our listeners.
Great. Thank you, Tom. It's at 2150 South Lee Highway here in Cleveland. So when you're going down the hill, if you don't hit that side of town very often, there used to be an old go-kart track down there. We're right across the street from that. We've been in that same spot now for basically for 10 years. We've got 8-lane indoor heated and air-conditioned range. It's handguns only, handgun calibers only. So you can bring a .22 rifle, you can bring a .357 lever action, whatever, but it's handgun calibers only. We can be reached at clevelandshootingsports.com. You can also sign up to take our carry class if you want to work on getting your carry permit. We'll be happy to do that. If you want individual lessons for introduction to handgun safety, we've got 3 NRA certified instructors to help you out. All this can be done by appointment. A lot of churches are now doing sponsoring the carry permit class, and what we do for some of the churches is they bring in we'll do it on their time when they want to do it. If you can bring us 10 students, we'll put a class together on your schedule, not ours.
And if there's a gun that you have around the house that may be an older model that's not working quite properly, you have a hand in gunsmithing too, don't you?
That's right. We've got Travis that's a full-time gunsmith down at our store. I've got actually one full-time and 2 part-time gunsmiths. It's kind of a lost art. There's not a lot of people around the area that can work on them properly. We guarantee all of our work. We run 2 to 3 weeks behind because there's always a lot of guns for him to work on. But that's a great thing. If you have something that's been sitting around for 20 years and you think the grease might be a little dry, or you want to make sure it's safe to shoot, bring it in, and we can do a great detail job on it, inspection.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah.
Warren Duncan with Cleveland Shooting Sports. The Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. We have taken our time today, Tom.
Yeah, people remember, once you give up those liberties, we never get them back. So make sure when you make these decisions, you go to polls and you do things, and it will be there forever.
And I would just encourage folks not to be so knee-jerk or so rash to rush out and give up our constitutional rights, because just as you said, once you give them up, you can't come back. And that's where tyranny can strike. When our constitutional rights are infringed, that's where tyranny comes in. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Tom, take us out of here.
Here we go. Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom, 99.9. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7. We don't have a topic right yet, but we will have one when we come back on Tuesday morning. So listen in, and we'll have results on the basketball game, the Bearettes, over at Ray County. So tune in.
Have a great morning.
Saturday from 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Or call Mike at 961-7239. Or go see him every Saturday at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933. 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.